if you look here, I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but the nacelle pylon underneath here is what they call the impulse intake. Now, if I had been if I had wanted to take a little extra time, I could have ordered an aftermarket part and actually lit that, which wouldn't have been all that difficult. It just would have been, you know, a little bit more cost and a little bit more time invested to do it. But since I didn't have the time or the money to do that, I went ahead and simply created the effect with paint. It was a 3-stage process. I painted the entire part there black, and then sprayed a highlight of flat white at the center, and then red over the entire part. And then after the red was dry, I masked off the recessed area and then attached the part and painted as usual. It creates kind of a highlight at the center. You can't really see it very well, I don't think, in this shot, but it looks pretty cool. It's definitely obvious that it was not a lit part. You can see here on the other side, actually, you can see a little bit more clearly. I did the same thing. It's obviously not lit, especially when you compare it to the nacelle Bussard collector cap right next to it. But when all the lights are off, it looks pretty cool. It almost looks comparable to how the rest of the ship looks. Almost looks real, kind of. So overall, it was a fun build. I'd say I put about maybe 20 hours worth of work into it. A lot of that was done just on the masking. You can see the variation in the panel coloration here and there. I think I've explained that previously, so I won't bother to go into it again. But yeah, so the masking of the panels took about 2 days, a couple hours a day, and the construction of the interior was probably the most time-consuming part of the entire construction process. Having to measure and remeasure and cut and trim and redesign and etc., etc. And then the wiring, of course, was time-consuming as well. But not as much so as on previous builds, because I think I've mentioned before, since I've done this before, I pretty much knew what I was doing. It wasn't really a big learning curve or anything on this project. So, and there, the rarely seen underside. Not really much to see. That's the battery case right there. There's the panel that snaps into place. It takes a 9-volt battery. I think I have a Duracell in there right now, so it should last a good long time. Not much else to say, just some painted details. Another Starfleet pennant decal that needed to be trimmed a little bit, and that's the main power switch right there. And that's really about all she wrote. Whoosh. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call this as probably one of my favorite builds of the last little while. Of course, I say that just about every model I do these days, but since I knew basically what I was doing the entire way along, it wasn't really an exercise in learning new skills. It was more just utilizing the skills I already had to do something a little bit different. I'm very happy that I was able to build a battery case into this one. The last model show I attended back in September, the light-up models that I had all were designed to run off a wall outlet. And there were no wall outlets to be found, so I had to run them off of a battery pack, a 12-volt battery pack that runs on 8 AA batteries. So I only had one, so I would have to switch it back and forth between the 3 different models, so I can only have one lit at any given time, which was kind of a disappointment, because, you know, some people they're only there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to walk around. and they'll only see one lit model rather than all three of them lit side by side. So this one I've decided, or I was a very early decision was to try and self-contain it as much as I could, and I'm thrilled with how it came out. The battery case, the door stays in place perfectly. The wiring all fits inside nicely. Everything it's entirely compact, self-contained. Everything is. I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. And yeah, I may do another one. I mean, there were 3 runabouts on Deep Space Nine in the first show. The kit has markings for 3 of them. There's the Rio Grande, as I did mine, the Ganges, and the Yangtze Kiang. Plus, there's aftermarket decal sets that can do any one of a dozen other runabouts that were named over the course of the show. Hell, if you wanted to, you could just come up with your own, with because they were all named after Earth's rivers. So you could do the USS Alex Fraser, one of the rivers going through Vancouver, or God, hell, I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but just whatever. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I would recommend this kit to just about anybody. So yeah, now that that's finished, it's back to work on my my Polar Lights refit Enterprise. Got a little bit of work done on it last night, so it's getting exciting. It's getting back to it. So I'm pretty happy about that.